wrap up 2014, we take a look at the various hits and misses from key sectors, and we'll also discuss key trends of 2015 and the issues that will possibly crop up in 2015. The space that we're going to begin by discussing today will be the banking and financial space, to talk about what we can expect in 2015, the big cues of 2015 from the banking and financial space, and what the year gone by looked like for private as well as PSU banks. We have with us Jignesh Shial, the research analyst at IDBI Capital Markets, joining in. Jignesh, hi, thanks very much for joining in today. First, I'm going to start by asking you about 2014 and the performance of PSU banks in terms of asset quality. How would you rate them? Was it worse, better, or the same?
No, there had been, I'll say it had been gradually been improving. There had been some slippages or higher quantum of slippages coming up. But overall, the performance had been relatively stable. What they were delivering, the kind of numbers in the previous fiscal, the similar kind of numbers have been delivered even during the current fiscal. So rather than getting further deteriorated, it remained stable. There had been some flip-offs. There had been certain, quarterly, there had been some slippages rising and all. But overall trend had remained, kind of similar what it had been in the previous fiscal, rather than improving, which was expected by most of the analysts.
Okay. Jignesh, hi, morning. We saw in 2014 the first half was clearly dominated only by private banks. In the second half, we saw the PSU banks make quite a bit of comeback actually. What's your call in 2015? Do you think both will do well, or do you think it will still be a private bank story, at least to begin with?
No, definitely. We expect both banks, both sectoral banks, overall banking sector as a whole could do better. Definitely there will be some picks, or there will be some selective stocks that we like the most. But overall, if the economic turnaround which is expected is happening, in that case, the entire banking space would be at an advantage. And whether it is private or PSU, both would be definitely gaining out of this momentum. So it won't be only private or only PSU, it would be a mix of both.
Okay. One of the things, Jignesh, that we will see going into 2015 will be the integration of the Kotak-ING merger, on the assumption that everything goes as per scheduled. In your sense, what will be the integration issues that we might need to focus on, and how will it impact the two stocks if that's the case?
This we even discussed previously on your channel only, and we appreciated the way Kotak has acquired ING, and we definitely feel this is a win-win situation for Kotak specifically. The issue that the consolidation this could face is probably the approval from the shareholders is something that one has to watch out for what kind of approvals, and the deadline which the Kotak management has already specified, probably April 1st, 2015. That's what they're trying to ramp up with the entire procedure and all. So how that particular thing takes place, that is something one has to watch out for. Operationally, we only remain keen on watching how ING's existing traditional SME accounts, how Kotak faces, how Kotak acquires it, or how Kotak manages it. That is something as an analyst I would be keenly watching out for, that how that particular counter Kotak is able to manage. Apart from that, I think ING had been a pretty stable bank, and Kotak won't have much of an issue either on the management level or on the operational level for the bank.
Jignesh, what's your pecking order of preference in the banking space in terms of your top 3 or 4 ideas?
We like HDFC Bank the most among the private banking space. We think it would be able to deliver. There had been certain this FIPB issues and all that the bank is likely to clear it very sooner. But on the growth front, they are the front runners, and they would be able to do pretty well. Even they don't have any existing a legacy of existing stressed accounts and all, so they would be able to definitely deliver well. Mix of wholesale, the wholesale to retail or the corporate to retail is also pretty fine with the HDFC Bank, so that remains our top pick. Followed by, on the PSU space, we like SBI the most. We think it would be able to gear up in the economic turnaround side, and it would be one of the finest bank to go for. Among mid-cap, we are liking the names like City Union, Karur Vysya, or even in that case Federal Bank.
Okay. Jignesh, how difficult will it be for PSU banks to raise capital in 2015? or easy maybe?
It won't be, definitely won't be easy because there are a lot of other, banks or even other institutions are definitely coming out and raising funds, and there is definitely the investors also has to pick the best bet whichever is available. But it won't be, it will be relatively easier compared to what it used to be previously, because the economic turnaround is definitely going in favor of banks, and with the major issue the banks are facing is definitely the credit pickup, which is likely if the things falls into place and GDP starts picking up. So in that case, they would be having some takers for them. That won't be much of an issue. But the relatively what time they come in and what kind of other issues are already, other players who are also there to raise the money, that is something else to watch out for. I mean, that could deteriorate a bit of a situation. But overall, there are definitely some takers for the PSU banks, considering the economic turnaround already in place.
Could we see further consolidation? We saw the ING Kotak deal take place. Any more, even possibly in the PSU banking space or smaller private banks, that you think will possibly rally incrementally on that news in 2015?
Rather, actually, going on a speculation side or giving names on it, but we definitely believe for private banks there are a lot of scope left on the consolidation side, whereby a large private or even a foreign bank can acquire a smaller private bank. That could see a probability, the kind of the turnaround already in place. For PSU, it seems a little difficult at this point of time, considering more of operational issues or even the on the employee base that has to merge and all, even the government clearances and all has to come up. So we don't expect very sooner that to happen in the PSU banking space. But for private, we definitely think that could be a possibility or could be a trigger for smaller private sector banks. And that's always beneficial for both the banks if the valuation is going absolutely correct.
Okay, Jignesh, the most volatile stock this year in financials was IDFC. What's your call as it now makes a transition to bank?
Definitely, it's one of the finest placed stocks at this point of time. The only issue that remains is how IDFC actually ropes up the branch network, how that expansion happens, and the kind of credit book growth, how they're able to bring in. Specifically, we would be watching out for the retail credit growth, how they are able to rope in. That is something keen to watch out for, because corporate lending book won't be much of an issue for IDFC at this point of time, but how they grow retail and how they expand their branch network, as well as how they gather the deposit franchising. That is something one has to watch out for. But for a long-term period, that's definitely one of the finest picks at this point of time.
Okay. All right, Jignesh, we leave it on that note. Thanks very much for joining in and talking about the trends that we could expect in 2015 from the banking and financial space.